The Valley of the Shadow, as in the Valley of the Shadow of Death. It wasn't until I began to carve that I discovered what this person what was happening to him. I could see a white figure, and I thought it was surrounded by two like dark spectres. I could see two dark spectres. But on getting the rock home and carving out the white figure, I couldn't fit the dark figures in, but I knew it was something to do with this white figure's death. And I couldn't find the arms. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, where are his arms? And then I realised they were raised above his head. And then I thought, this chap is being flogged. The man carved looks like a man in his prime. I don't know, there's a sadness about that there's a man in his prime who's been flogged or tortured. There is no rips and flesh hanging off, but the whiteness of the stone is shot with veins of dark, which are actually like bruising. So it looks like he's been badly beaten. I had a lot of trouble with deciding whether the head would be back, whether it would be forwards, and I decided to have it nestled into the rock, as if he was just exhausted. Relating to my faith as a Christian, there were moments when it reminded me of Jesus at the age of 33, pre-crucifixion, being flogged. And it was quite emotional after that. I could feel a lot of emotion for this piece. And then I was thinking, who is going to buy a piece of a person being flogged?
I feel it was made for me. Well, my name's Malcolm Evans. Over 10 years, from 2009 until the end of 2020, I was a member of a UN body called the UN Subcommittee on Prevention of Torture.
I feel that my responsibility is to finish the piece, and then when the person whose piece it is, when there's a union with the person whose piece it is and the sculpture, I feel that it begins to take on another story and another part of the sculpture's life.
And what we did was travel around the world visiting places of detention in order to try to discover how people were being treated in places of detention, in order to try to make it less likely that they would be subject to forms of torture, inhuman and degrading treatment and punishment.
There is a kind of grace about the piece.
And immediately I saw it, I couldn't take my eyes off it.
The rock ran out and I thought, I'll have him standing in mud. So, and that kind of makes him feel trapped.
The thing that struck me immediately about it was the way that it emerges. And it was precisely that, the way that it just grows out, and the way that as a sculptor you found what was within this that spoke hugely to me about my experiences over the last 10 years, about going to places, seeing things which on the outside look unremarkable, but what do you find when you look inside?
And there was no question about really whether he was going to buy it, because there was such a good match with Malcolm's story and the stone story.
Because when I saw it, I needed it.
Torture was often hidden away, but he wanted it to be open and exposed. So he has it in his front room.
I didn't really intend to put it here. It was partly circumstance. But then it was more than that. I'd originally had a couple of places in mind. After all, it is quite large. And I will admit, many people have come in and sat and their eye goes to it and they, why is that there? And the entire point of my experiences in trying to tackle torture is that this is what far too many people do. They may know that something is wrong, they may know of something, but they just put it out of sight, or just keep it out the way, or where they can look at it when it's useful to look at it, or when they think they ought to look at it. And to me, I find it incredibly powerful just to have it here as a part of life, because the terrible truth is torture and ill treatment is a part of life. It's a part of life of the victim, as the person here. That is something that they would never ever be able to move beyond. They might be able to move beyond it in some ways, but it is something that will always be a part of them. But it's also a part of all of us, the way that these things are allowed to go on within the communities of which we are a part.